Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Cockney rhyming slang?
No? You get no. Oh. So, like Cockney accent in London, South London, or whatever, they have a slang, and they use usually two words to mean one word. It's really weird. So, Barney Rubble is actually one of the slang word terms. So, if you say we're going to get into a lot of Barney Rubble, that means trouble. It always rhymes. Like, but you got to know. So then they shorten it to like Barney. We're gonna have some Barney here, and then it's like a whole thing. It's like you got to look it up. It's like it's crazy. Like, you're like if you're gonna go out to dinner with your trouble and strife, that's your wife. It's like everything like rhymes, and it's all supposed to be funny. Like you got to look up. Not that we have to talk about it, but Barney Rubble.
I think we already are.
Yeah.
I
don't know if you're
Barney Rubble.
Now, but we're recording already. But
really?
I did find on The Guardian the ultimate guide to Cockney rhyming slang.
Ooh. That's going in the show notes.
Yeah, from apples and pears to weep and wail and A to Z of Cockney rhyming slang.
Yeah.
The meanings behind the East End's most famous linguistic export.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
We
sometimes
need to start dropping it on here.
Yeah, you spend too much of your milk and honey, right?
Yeah.
And you can't afford
Bees and
stuff.
honey. Bees and honey.
Bees and
means
honey?
Money.
Okay,
bees
I
and
thought
honey
it was
means money.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Box of toys means noise. Coals and Coke means broke.
It's good. But all this started
It is
because we were
good.
talking about the Flintstones. But
Yeah, and the honeymooners. Yeah.
and the honeymooners.
Yeah.
This is all staying in. Just roll into it. I
Yeah.
think it's
Well,
good.
hello, everybody. Here we are.
Dustbin. Dustbin lids are kids. I like that one.
I'm Alvaro Jaramillo. This is Life List, a birding and sometimes a Cockney rhyming slang, podcast.
Today,
and I'm
at
here
least.
with Molly Brown and George
everyone.
Armistead.
Hey guys.
It's we sometimes talk about stuff that doesn't
Including
get in.
birds even.
Yeah. And here we are talking about some really nice, interesting linguistics from the London area. But I think a lot of Americans don't know anything about it, but it's kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some really good stuff here.
I wonder if there's some birds, It's just like Cockney rhyming slang birds.
Yeah, there's a gay and hearty is a party. Yeah, there's some really good stuff here. I'm not seeing any bird-related stuff here.
No,
Yeah. Your
Well,
ranks
you've
and
got the
riches are
list,
your
so-
bridges. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
We'll
gotta
hear
hear
what you've
it.
got.
Like you gotta get one of those videos where somebody's actually using it with their own accent and everything. It's pretty crazy.
It would be great if you could click on these and actually hear somebody, saying it with a Cockney accent.
I wonder if
Because
any of our listeners.
maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pimple and
Can bear this
blotch
out.
is a scotch.
yeah, I'm gonna have a pimple and blotch. Yeah, and
Eh.
if the classic, I think Cockney accent though is if you think of Michael Caine, the actor.
Oh, yeah.
he's got a I think you could call that a classic Cockney accent. That's what it sounds like. Then you add the rhyming into it, you get an idea.
Makes me think of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Michael Caine. It's a classic one.
Very cool. So, hey, everybody, what have you been up to? I am in Quito, Ecuador, actually. I'm on Quito. I'm almost on the equator. I don't know if I'm in the south or in the north. I've been flushing the toilet to see which way it goes. And it just goes straight down. It goes straight down,
It's very confusing. Yeah.
Very confusing.
All right, Al, are you at the 4 Points Sheraton?
No.
Okay.
That was the old days.
Yeah. That
We're
was
actually-
the place where I got to know the bellhops and I went there so much on Galapagos trips.
Yeah.
Remember they would get me and Dan Lane confused? They'd be like, Senior George or Senior Dan?
Dan Lane. Well, what happened is you probably flew into the airport that was in the city, right? At that time, or
Yeah.
because now the airport's outside of the city. It's like about 40 minutes outside of the city. It's a newer, maybe 10 years old now. So we stay at this nice spot that's got birding right around it in a town called Puembo, which is adjacent to the new airport, Mariscal Sucre. It has the same name, the airport, but it's modern and new with runways that don't end at a 20-story building like the old one did. That was one of those weird places where you would fly in and you could practically see people like ironing their clothes as you went by the windows, the tall buildings. But no more.
Have you all read Kurt Vonnegut's Galapagos?
I have read that.
I have.
A long time ago.
I read it fairly recently. I haven't been to the Galapagos, but every time I think about folks getting ready to take off, that's all that I'm thinking through on all these things that are going around outside your hotel room right now.
Isn't that a book that you'd want to read maybe after going to the Galapagos? Isn't it? Like my recollection isn't there kind of like some disasters involved? I'm trying to remember.
It's a bit of an end of the world situation. Yeah. Once you get to the Galapagos, you're fine. That first 24 hours when you're hanging out in Quito before you take off. Maybe wait until after that. Get on the boat and then start it.
get somewhere. No, yeah, it's I don't remember the book at all, but I remember reading it. I remember I liked it, but I don't remember anything about it. It's kind of funny. I'd even forgotten it existed.
The situation for me. Yeah.
I'll have to go and see.
It's kind of how I feel about Vonnegut books in general.
Yeah.
They blend together, but I do like that.
Yeah. It's funny. Some people really dislike them. Like, I don't know. I've heard people, I can't stand that.
I think that's valid. I like to read them while I'm traveling because they're short and they're kind of like easy to read on the surface level, and they make you think a little bit. But they're not too dense. They're as dense as you want them to be, I suppose. But yeah, I've been chipping away at them.
Nice.
Well, Al, what are you looking forward to seeing out there? I mean, I know you've been quite a lot of times. Yeah. Like I know I've been a bunch, and I haven't been for years now, but you've continued going that whole time. So you must have. How many trips have you done to Galapagos now?
I'm so bad at that kind of thing, but it's got to be at least 12, 20? Maybe more.
Oh, I was thinking more even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I did 10 trips, and I know you've been doing it for longer than I have now. I would have thought it was more, but maybe not.
Yeah, maybe more. Well, I'm just bad at numbers.
I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing some seabirds out there.
Yeah. One of the things I always think about, though, is all the stuff we don't see, because you have a route that you do, and you have to do everything within a week. So there are things that are actually outside of the realm of possibilities. There's places too where you can't go unless you're on a dive boat. And after being there so many times, you do look at some of those finches, two in particular, vampire finch and the sharp-beaked ground finch, that I always think, like, am I ever going to see those? They're not in the places we go. The vampire finch is really
Darwin
inaccessible.
And Wolf Islands.
Yeah. Like that's way far north, and you have to go on a dive boat. You can't go on a birding boat. So you'd have to, do it entirely differently. But then there's something nice about not seeing everything sometimes, like just having this thing in your mind, like maybe one day it'll sort of happen. It's
the romantic idea of the place that's even further afield. Yeah. No, exactly. And it's odd that you can fly from tomorrow. We fly and we're having lunch, in the Galapagos, and then by the afternoon, I'm pointing out the differences between great and magnificent frigate birds. By pointing down towards them on the nest, like it's really neat. Such a neat place like that. And there'll be, the swallowtail gulls flying around and boobies doing their thing. And I expect there's going to be a lot of breeding activity for the seabirds because the water is cold. So
that means food. So I'm looking forward to that.
I love the two gulls there. Yeah, lava gull being probably the rarest gull in the world, and swallow-tailed gull just being like at the base of the phylogeny and super good looking and interesting and unusual in behavior and nocturnal. And so, yeah, those are two birds I always look forward to seeing there, the two gulls. Even being I think non-gull people could look forward to those,
Yeah, they look pretty good. I was surprised through a random set of circumstances. I looked up yesterday which gulls are threatened or endangered, and actually I thought lava gull would be endangered since there's only like 300 individuals, but it's not. There are no endangered gulls in the world. There are near threatened species or vulnerable, but nothing in the endangered category in the entire group of gulls. And I was like, wow, that's kind of something. I mean, there are terns that are doing pretty poorly, but not gulls. Survivors.
Yes.
What's the population trend of lava gull?
I think it's just steady. That's why they're not considered in harm's way, I guess.
I think it's kind of limited by like breeding sites, right? Isn't that one of the limiting factors?
Yeah. And there's not a lot of parking lots with people throwing French fries on the ground, in the Galapagos. Otherwise, they do very well. Yeah. So, Molly, what you've been up to?
I feel like I've been on a summer vacation for the past month since we've been on break recording. We record pretty much every week when we're in our season, which is why we broke this into 2 seasons per year with a month off in June, and then we'll take December off too. So it's been kind of weird and quiet, and I haven't been traveling. I've been home, and June is amazing around here. So it's been really wonderful in all the kinds of ways that I feel like I don't have a lot to say, but I've had a routine more than I have in years. And that's been really nice of, the daily running around and taking care of the garden and getting work done and trying to get ahead on this season of Life List. And it's kind of been my days lately, and it'll be like that for July too. So good things, good boring things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I've been doing my kind of chunk of volunteer work has kind of been happening with breeding bird surveys and map stations and that sort of thing. And some of the excitement that is filling my days as much as I can is the Avian Conservation Center has a fledgling raven that's non-releasable that has been around for about a month, named Taylor. I call it a she. We don't actually know the sex, but anyway, she is the most incredible bird to now be, just raised like with, gape and bright blue eyes and everything from very young in ACCA's care. She's got a very damaged wing and can't fly. So she's waiting to get her educational permit. But wow, seeing a bird like that is raised from a very young age has been awesome. She's really cool. So that's been really fun too.
Wow. They are pretty. I mean, we always hear about how intelligent they are, but I gather that one of the things that people that have had ravens as, let's call them pets or as educational animals that I've heard about, is that they seemingly understand you. Like they have eyes that kind of look at you and are like paying attention, which is not what you get from, let's say, city pigeons.
Yeah, exactly. They're a lot of the birds that are there come in as adults from, one way or another and have not had that sort of upbringing and kind of have folks that they like and they kind of respond to different things. They're very like set in their ways. But Taylor seems responsive to everyone, and they've got great big enclosures at the they call it the outdoor classroom where these non-releasable birds are. So she's got a really nice place, and most of the birds, they've all got different types of vegetation and shrubs and platforms and all of this. But her place is like a preschool. It's filled with all these different children's toys and and puzzles and different things for her to play with. And she is so intelligent and also truly acts like a 3-year-old child, just like wants to play with everything and get into everything. But she's decided that her enclosure is her safe space. So she'll be like running around trying to like chew on something and then just run back into her place and take a 20-second nap, just curled up on top of her carrier. It's pretty adorable. Wow. But yeah, she's very hungry, very motivated, very curious, and having a blast.
I got a question. So you said that the raven has a nap. Like, have you had birds there that are like little passerines, and do they? I'm kind of thinking when you're birding and you're the morning and everything's active and there's that midday lull where the birds are all not available. What happens if you, in the captive situation, do they fall asleep? Do they hide out? Or do you get a sense for like that routine that might explain exactly what is going on? Because I've never, for example, found a warbler just sitting there at noon, but they must, right? Because they're not singing or flying around. And
that's a good question that I guess I don't have a full perspective on because I go at the feeding time each day. So at 2:00 when I show up, or not each day, but my day of the week, and when most folks do it, they're kind of worked up and waiting to be fed. Afterwards, a lot of them do quiet down. Like if I go back in later or something, and they've all had their daily food, then they're generally pretty quiet and subdued. Mm-hmm. It's harder to say. So I talk about these non-releasable birds a lot because they're the ones that you're interacting with more. But the majority of what I'm doing there is working with releasable birds that are in some sort of rehab, whether it's sick or injured or whatever the case is. So those we're not handling very closely. They're like, separated from humans, and we're not trying to encourage any sort of positive interaction through contact because we want them to be released and to function as wild birds as soon as they can. So in those cases, I don't get the observation as much. When they're in sort of their first stages of rehab, they're in kind of smaller crates and keep a loose, like a sheer cover or different covers over them for the majority of the time. So they're not looking at people so much when they're in there. Right. And then they go to bigger enclosures for their, muscle building and stuff before release. So I'll have to think about it. I'll have to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other question, when you're out birding, have you ever, let's say, found a yellow warbler, to say something that's broadly sort of relatable to a lot of people in North America, at middle of the day, just sitting like quietly hiding underneath a leaf or something? Like, it almost seems like when these passerines are inactive, they're kind of unfindable to me. Like, it seems like you go in the morning and they're everywhere and they're singing, they're flying around. Then you go in the day, there's nothing, but you can't actually spot where they are. I mean, is that your experience too?
Oh yeah, totally. I know we talk about thermals on here a lot, but when I'm using a thermal camera at night, I see all sorts of birds sleeping, and that's amazing, which I guess is probably the same thing that they're doing during the day when they're not moving. Yeah. But that's my only experience personally, seeing something like that with any sort of regularity.
Yeah. I mean, I remember doing a project in Ontario where we were looking at various, birds and other fauna, sort of surveying. And there was a thought at some point, like, I think it was like water throat. One of the warblers that just sort of disappeared in the July, kind of late July timeframe into let's say August, before they started migrating, and then they reappeared again in those same areas. And we were almost thinking that they might be like molting all their feathers and hanging out near the ground, like really just like almost like sitting there waiting. They completely disappeared for weeks. And I've always thought, like, what do they do when they're like this incredible dense molt, heavy molt? You actually don't see the birds often. What are they doing? Like, are they in a cave? Mm-hmm. Do they all go to a cave somewhere?
I think they bury in the mud at that point.
Yeah, they get buried in the mud. It's kind of a neat thing. Like some of these basics things that we don't understand. We know all the showy things, like migration, but we don't know what happens to a blue-winged warbler when it's molting. Like, what does it do? Because you don't see them. They disappear, sort of that molt period, Then they reappear again, like all fall plumage.
I would like to look at MAPS data for that now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, you can see in the eBird charts when you're looking at this kind of stuff, all these breeders dip in like July, August, at least around here in a lot of cases. But I'm curious about the capture rates of them in nets in that time period.
Right. And I would predict it's low, like that they're not flying much, like that they're just kind of hanging somewhere. But then are they eating, or do they fatten up and then sit there and
maybe
just
they vanish into like really thick, dense stuff where they can just kind of like hop around without having to fly much, but still find lots of bugs.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, anyways.
Yeah.
Hey, couple of things, George. We were in Alaska recently. We're not going to talk about it too much because we recorded a whole episode about our Alaska adventure, but we were just back. So that's one of the reasons we sort of don't have much field stuff to report, because it was all in Alaska. But you want to say anything about Alaska, or you're going to do it next year too, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to going back and maybe adding some wrinkles to our offerings there in the next year or two. I do anticipate that we'll, I've done a lot of Alaska over my guiding career years now. And I really love it up there. It's definitely a challenge. But yeah, the pod should be good. And shot a little video while I was up there too. So have some of those shared on social media.
That's right.
He's got a new camera,
Yeah, went mirrorless. Pretty excited about that.
He's like all like doing the slow-mo and the this and that.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, trying to channel Tom Johnson a little bit, and I just so loved the stuff that he created, and I am not of that caliber of talent, certainly, but I might be that caliber of enthusiasm at least. So I'm going to kind of keep plugging away. I know, Molly, you've done quite a bit of video, and our buddy Doug Gotchfeld does a lot of really great video. Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got a good bird. There's a sharp-shinned hawk out here.
Oh wow!
And I haven't seen one around in a long time, so I'm pretty excited.
Maybe get a breeder.
I'm turning. Yeah, I'm actually. I've been wondering about their breeding status in this area, and
do they kind of breed a little higher up in the mountains, or can you have them breeding where you are?
Yeah, like slightly higher elevation, and I'm not sure around here. I've been waiting to see if I figure that out, really. I'm sort of in that middle ground where it feels like it could go either way. I've been kind of figuring out like certain species that I would expect to be here that aren't, and vice versa. Sorry, I might have just turned away from the mic as I was looking.
Yeah, but, I know nice. I saw the binoculars come out, but I think they always, not always, but I think they nearly always breed in conifers. So that'd be a place to sort of look, and they can be kind of sneaky around the nest, not bold and like hit you on the head like goshawks, but I guess they vary. A couple of each pair is different.
Yeah, there's a big pine plantation, like a big red pine plantation. But there aren't many of them around here, but less than a mile from me.
That could be the place.
You might have some hemlocks, right? Do you have hemlock?
And there are. It's sort of mixed hemlock through here, but there are a lot. Yeah.
Love hemlocks. Yeah.
Me too. They're doing well here too.
That's
knock on wood.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about Alaska, just a little
we were talking about
promo to the fact that we'll give you the Alaska episode after this one at some point, maybe in a month or so. But it's sort of fresh in our minds, and we're sort of we figured we were not going to say too much because we said it all on the
exactly
recorded episode.
Back a week ago, not much to report really since then from my side, or probably from your side, Al.
Yeah, there were crazy stories about folks we met along the way. There were stories of planes not landing and
sometimes not even taking off. Yeah.
A big day that was not planned, but which went very well. Just to give you sort of snippets of what you might hear.
Yeah.
Vagrants, seabirds, Arctic breeding shorebirds doing displays, and a plethora of other birding guides and tour companies. So it was like a who's who, like a People magazine of birding could have been done
and
there.
Us Weekly,
Us Weekly, yeah, Weekly World News, but or National Enquirer,
Now you're talking.
But now we're talking. Yeah, there's a lot of catch and kill going on. But
that's right. I was trying to think of the term. Yeah.
Anyway, that's what we were going to tell you about. And also, George, maybe we should talk about the newsletter too, and who we were traveling with in Alaska, because that was a cool.
Yeah, actually, since I got back, basically, I have not been out birding, but I've done a little bit of birdering, and I did, including going to our buddy Eric Bonesley's summer party yesterday. Eric manages our newsletter. And so him and his wife Viana put on had quite a spread there of amazing food and good company, good drink all around. And we were talking about the newsletter. It's doing good. We got approaching 500 now or so folks subscribing, and thanks to everybody who has subscribed. Definitely take a peek. There's some good content that Eric is managing and putting together with all of our help here too. But he's really been the driving force behind that. So encourage folks to check it out for sure.
Yeah, and also, and if there's interesting stories that you find out there in the world about birds, maybe you think maybe people don't know about this. You can send them to us so we can put them in the newsletter. We really want these little stories of interesting things, nuggets going on in the bird and nature world that you might not have access to anywhere else. So the more interesting and obscure, the better, because we may not know about it.
Trivia too. We always there's always a featured trivia question, so we're always looking for new good trivia as well.
Yeah,
good trivia.
Well, in my time off this past month as well, I've been working on our Patreon updates. So we have lots of stuff on Patreon at this point, including we'll have an early release of this Alaska recap. So if you're really keen to hear about it, then you can check it out on there as a bonus episode. But we've been taking listener questions and we answer them each week and have these short recordings that are coming out on Patreon. And it's been pretty fun. I sat down while y'all were gone at one point and just answered a big pile of them. And I really enjoyed it. Honestly, it made me want to get out and travel because a lot of the questions are travel related. So it made me feel a little cooped up at home. But it was really fun. We're reflecting on different things and just talking about all of this, as we do. If you want more of this, it's all on Patreon.
Right. And, I think as it develops too, we'll have new and different things we can offer there that we can't, we're not doing yet. So it's, we're learning new ways and things and kind of, I don't want to call them products, but that's what people sort of say now, that we can offer to folks. It's weird to use the word product for anything related to birds, because although birding is a pastime and a business, even those who are in the business, we kind of, the love of birding is why we're here. But so sometimes I avoid that sort of language of birding products or birding. I don't know why. It's a weird thing in my head.
The birding industry.
Industry.
I find that comes up in my Nighthawk discussions a lot. It's something, it's not just a tourism industry. It's something more specific than that, but it still feels weird because it's hobby based and my personal pastime as well.
Yeah, sometimes it seems more like a circus than an industry, but hey.
Maybe I'll start using that.
Yeah, the birding circus.
Carnival,
yeah.
Sounds pretty fun.
I know. I mean, it makes it sound a lot more fun than industry, so buy shares in birding stock. Hey, changing subjects a little bit, sort of it's sad news, but also, I mean, the person I'm going to talk about who we lost last week was so amazingly interesting that I think I just want to talk about him a little bit. And it was Orlando Garrido from Cuba. He passed away. He was in his 90s. And some of you may have heard of him. He sort of comes up in birding conversations here and there because he was essentially a living legend of a person. He described over 100 different creatures, so not just bird subspecies, but lizards, and I think he was interested in other invertebrates and all sorts of stuff. But to think that he described all of those species to science is one thing. The other thing is he used to correspond all the time. He was one of the major correspondents with the original James Bond. Right, James Bond, the spy, is named for an ornithologist who was at the Academy, right, in Philadelphia, George, right?
Yep, that's right, yeah.
And James Bond wrote The Birds of the West Indies, and Orlando was one of his main contributors back in the 60s. Then Orlando was also a person who saw the ivory-billed woodpecker, and he saw, what else was it?
Bachman's?
The Bachman's warbler. Yeah, Bachman's warbler. Yeah. He actually saw them. And I think he had a poor picture of the ivory-billed, or he saw it at a nest in, I want to say, the 70s. But then, if you think, okay, there can't be more to this guy than that. He was a tennis pro when he was a young man, and he went to Wimbledon 5 times and played actually with sometimes he played with his brother in doubles, or he was sometimes played against his brother Reynaldo
6 times
in the 50s. 6 times.
Yeah.
And he represented Cuba in the Davis Cup between 1950 and 1959. So, one of the most important tennis heroes in Cuba is also one of the most important biologists, and he was such a nice guy. And he would have people over at his house and tell you about endemic birds in Cuba, and he had a specimen of basically every endemic, including Cuban kite and so forth. He had in his personal collection there, and it was kind of like going to a museum and being led through it by essentially one of the grandfathers of Caribbean ornithology. And he worked with Arturo Kirkconnell, sort of mentored Arturo Kirkconnell, who is, works with Molly on our Cuba tour. And both of them also, their hero in the nature world is Gunlach. Gunlach of Gunlach's hawk fame was a German ornithologist who came and did some work in Cuba, but then he loved it so much that he stayed for the rest of his life. And I think that's part of what the Cubans love about Gunlach. He wasn't like I'm going to go in here, grab the specimens, go back to Europe, but it was sort of like, oh my God, I found the place I want to be for the rest of my life. And he so we lost Orlando Garrido. There's a lot of information about him out there in the internet, and people, there's probably going to be some things on print too in the near future. But he was amazing and friendly and warm, and one of the best storytellers I've ever sort of met, and I've met a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I never got to meet him, and I don't know nearly as much about him as you do, Alvaro. But my father did get to meet him on his trip to Cuba there, and just gushed about him afterwards. There is a nice tribute to him that was for his 90th birthday a couple years ago. So he just passed at 93. Born in 1931. I mean, just think about that for starters. Wow. But there's a nice tribute. If you go to Birds Caribbean, which is a great organization anyway, they've got a whole bunch of interesting stuff on their site. But they have a birthday tribute to him from a couple years ago that has a nice summary, some old pictures of him. They talk about him playing at Wimbledon 6 times and representing Cuba in a whole bunch of different tournaments. And his buddy Niels Navarro also writes about him. Niels Navarro is also extremely well-known biologist, ornithologist. And he has this one brief bit in this where he says, I would like to summarize in a paragraph the greatness of his research. Garrido is credited with the discovery of 4 mammalian taxa and the description of 58 insect taxa, 21 birds, 90 reptiles, 37 of those at the species level, and he holds the world record in species description of the genus Anolis. Also, 78 new records among birds, reptiles, and coral fish. 23 taxa have been dedicated to him, and in total, he has 298 publications. Just fascinating and apparently very humble person as well, despite all of these incredible accomplishments.
This is such a Cuban story. This just has Cuba written all over it. That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, there's people in Cuba that are like so impressive, and you're like, how did you in this small island come out of this small island, and also through all this hardship and all that going on? But there's so many people you meet like that in Cuba.
So multifaceted.
Right, exactly. And I wanted to say one thing though. I remember one story he told me, or told us at that point, and I'd heard it before from Doug McRae, who used to travel out, we're actually do some research in Cuba. Doug was a field guides leader for a while, a Canadian birder, and it was back in the day, a lot of museum work being done by collection, right? So you gun and shoot the specimen for the museum. Well, he was apparently going to work and on the bus, and he saw a common loon swimming around, like in the just off the Malecon, the shoreline, and he thought there's no record for common loon in Cuba, and I gather he went to the museum to work, and he got his gun, and I think he either walked or took a bicycle back to middle of the city, like with his gun, and he went over and he collected the bird, which was way out in the ocean. So then he stripped to his underwear and swam out, because he was quite a fit guy, and grabbed the loon, and it was the first record of common loon for Cuba, and it's still in the museum. And you don't know the story when you see the specimen, but it's that's what was done in the past, and he went to all lengths to actually be able to sort of secure some of these new records for the country.
One of the things I remember hearing about him, I don't remember if it was from my dad or somebody, and I'm pretty sure I have this right, was that I think he started almost every day by swimming out into the ocean like a mile or something, and then swimming back. Like, it's like apparently he loved swimming in the ocean, did it pretty much daily. And would go out some distance. So he was probably he was not intimidated by the waters to go for that loon. I guess that story totally jives with what I've heard about him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think even in his later years as a tour guide, when he was in his 60s, he was. People say they couldn't keep up with him. He was just fast on the trails, and he was just like was special in so many ways. And one thing I mentioned to Arturo is like that there's such sadness in having somebody like this, pass away. But then he lived like such a full life. he was, his family loved him, people loved him. He did all this stuff. And it's just it's sort of one of those ideas of like, this is sort of how you want to lead a life. It's like really make impacts with people and with nature, and have a legacy of good work. And so, like you said, Cuban story, very much so.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Yep. I'll drop those links in the show notes too, to Birds Caribbean.
Yeah, thanks.
See what else we find. Absolutely.
Yeah. The Birds Caribbean is really a good organization. They do a lot of work and also have a convention every year. So, and it's a kind of thing where you can donate money to their work as well, conservation and so forth.
Yeah, and they have a lot of content. There's a lot for any sort of interest in supporting it.
Yeah. Hey, do you guys want to talk taxonomy?
Let's do it. Dive in. Head
Splits,
first.
Splits, lumps.
Yeah, and I don't see much in the way of lumps happening here. But
that's how we like it.
Splits. Yeah,
that's how we like it. So yeah. Here's the thing, like we often talk about the AOS, the North American Classification Committee. This is not that. That happens in July. Then there's an update of the taxonomy, but eBird separately has its own checklist of birds, and they have this will become official in October, but they've sent out which to us, it seems like relatively public information on what their decisions are right now, and with little caveats of some of this may change in a minor way before the actual October implementation, to the actual eBird database. But boy, there are some doozies here. Herring gull split into
at long last.
Four species.
Long live
American herring gull.
so long herring gull. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. and Molly, I think they were smart not to listen to George, who wanted to have this. Who wanted this called the seagull. He wanted it called the seagull. He said, "Let's just do it." They said no. eBird is actually. I think you're on probation with eBird just for that.
I mean, you gave it the best shot you could talking about it on the podcast for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so.
I'm definitely gonna call up powers that be there at eBird and continue to give them an earful about this. But
write them an angry letter.
Yeah, exactly.
Signed in ink.
Deeply therapeutic.
Yeah, so American herring gull is what ours ends up being. European herring gull, and then the Vega gull in Siberia, which is a vagrant to North America, and Mongolian gull, which has never been in North America. So I was
going to say, I'm kind of excited about Mongolian gull. That'll be a gull species I have not seen that I'm going to have to try to see, because I've almost swept the gulls. But
swept the gulls.
With this one, we'll see what happens with the taxonomy going forward. But that'll be kind of a special one to get, right? Because they pretty much breed in Mongolia and kind of winter mostly along the Yellow Sea, it looks like.
But
so
you
not
can find them in
kind
Japan.
That's kind of what I figured.
Rarely, yeah.
I wonder if it's possible I have seen them actually. But
well, yeah.
Yeah, and even south of there, and even it looks like they turn up with some, as vagrants south of there at times.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think there's going to be some controversy or controversy, as some like to say, in that this is an eBird set of splits, and it's going to be what the birders are essentially going to be following almost by default because you're using eBird. But my guess is that the North American Classification Committee, which is currently the official bird list, and even the list that's being followed primarily by the ABA, won't split some of these things. I can't imagine that they will have split the herring gull. So there will be these differences, and it's happened before, right, with the Mexican duck. But I think we're going to have multiples.
Really. Yeah, right. Mexican duck was kind of the first time that that eBird kind of strayed from the North American classification. Right. And now we're seeing more of that, and so that'll be an interesting thing to follow. It will put the American Birding Association Checklist Committee in a interesting position as well, because you're going to have all these birders using eBird, but that they've always been kind of followed North American classification. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And my guess is, like, Molly, like, for you and younger birders, you probably have been, in a sense, like, eBird is more of an authority than the AOS in some ways. Like, you almost So the older birders, right? We used to wait for these AOS changes before eBird existed, even so. We have this history, but I do wonder if, like, we're having a change of what is the actual authority. I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly easier to go with the grain of eBird from a listing standpoint and keeping track of your records. But yep, that's exactly how I feel.
And another thing that is going to be like another kind of conundrum is that state records committees follow the AOS, North American Classification Committee, and some of them don't review subspecies. So in California, Vega gull is a subspecies. Officially, it's not being reviewed. And then suddenly it's going to be on eBird as a species. It's going to create this pressure to at least have the records committee start reviewing some of these things that are eBird species, even though their policies are like, we don't review subspecies, because in their take, following the AOS, that would be a subspecies rather than a species. It's very confusing. So we're getting into this level of, like, conundrums going on here that I'm sure will sort themselves out in time, but we're going to get to see it live. And we'll talk about it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if there's some egos damaged along the way that lead to some periodic outbursts as well. Those are always entertaining.
Yeah, not in science. There are no egos in science, right?
Just the data. Just the data.
Just the data, right? Yeah. We have. Oh, here's the thing. Oh, this is a pronunciation thing. So I don't know. Corey Shearwater.
Need a sound effect for that.
Corey Shearwater. But see, I call it Scopolis Shearwater, the split, and I know that George has said Scopolis, and I don't know. So we have a tie. Molly, you have to break the tie. Which is the word?
Oh man!
What way should we say?
It's fine, Molly. Just choose my
Scopolis or Scopolis.
Well, I think I have East Coast bias on this, so. I hate to say it.
Yeah. East Coast, West Coast. I love it.
Scupperly, yeah.
We win every time, Molly. Yeah.
That we do, yeah.
We don't even have them out here in the West, so I shouldn't even have an opinion. But it sounds more Italian to me. Like, shouldn't it be like Scopoli, right? Scopoli Shearwater.
To put a hand up in the air.
That's good. You get kind of the chef's kiss. Nice. Yeah.
The Scopoli sounds like, I don't know, weird. Like I don't know.
It sounds like South Philly Italian a little bit here. It's sort of like, where you talk about your mozzarella and your gabagool,
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
It's like we kind of take pride in butchering the Italian, it seems like.
Right.
But I do not know what's correct.
It used to rhyme in my head with Spicoli from a classic teen movie.
Sean Penn's finest role. Yeah.
Sean Penn. Actually, first place I ever saw Sean Penn was at Fast Times at Ridgemont High as a kid. But
that was Spicoli. So, right? That was when he was Spicoli.
Spicoli.
Yeah.
Spicoli. No shirt, no shoes, no service, as they say.
That's right.
So that's a Shearwater split. Brown Booby is split into the Brewsteri form, the one with the pale head in Mexico and California. It's now going to be called the Cocos Booby. And I got to say, if that's cool. It's a cool sounding name. It's a neat bird. But from my Spanish perspective, and it depends on the country, but Cocos is not only a plate, tectonic plate, an island of cocos and the coconut, but it does also mean testicles. So suddenly we have a bird
Excellent.
that is named for testicles and booby in the same name. And I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously not.
I'm sure
that's
why
not funny. That's not funny at all.
For certain.
Did anybody think this through? It's like the Chevy Nova,
I think that this
Nova, it doesn't go.
I don't think, there can be no question that this definitely went into the thinking behind the name here. And to those who made this decision, congratulations, and we thank you.
Yeah, and well, I'm upset because children use these checklists, and now they'll be having to.
They're going to learn some slang. They're going to learn a little bit of slang.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a ton of different old world splits. There's some that are complicated, like the red rump swallow. One of the one form gets lumped. The strided red rump swallow. There's stuff that you can look through, but for us too, the house wren split into 7 species. 7.
Now you must have been really happy about this one, Alvaro. This is one you've been talking about for a long time. I imagine.
I'm curious if you agree with the 7 though.
Yeah, I'll take anything. No, it's great. And I actually think that as people do more research, they might find there's even more things to look at here. But many of them are island forms, right? So it's the ones in the Lesser Antilles and so forth that are being split. But let me see if I've got the list here. We have northern and southern house wren, sort of this North American, South American, but then Cozumel wren, cinnamon wren, which is in a couple of the islands, in the St. Lucia wren, St. Vincent wren, Grenada wren. So that all is good. And I like the fact that Cozumel wren was one of the separations. That's a really.
We talked about that one on the podcast, Al, right? You went to go see that and talked about how it really behaved quite differently and was found in kind of like dense, brushy habitat, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was just a different critter, and it looks really long billed, and yeah, I was impressed by it. Definitely. The barn owl split into 3 species, I think it was.
Yes.
The American barn owl.
Eastern Western American, yeah.
And the northern flicker, the Guatemalan southern population, which is quite different looking and sounding, is separated from northern flicker, which is cool. It's actually quite a different. I was impressed with it when I actually saw Guatemalan flicker and thought, why is this thing, a northern flicker exactly? And that's one of the decisions they come to. There are a lot of other things, in sort of the old world, but I want to say one of them is super impressive, because if you've ever looked at a book or anything that has thrushes in it, there's something called the island thrush, and the island thrush is throughout the Pacific, and Papua and Solomon Islands and so forth. But each island has a different version, and they look different. And that one was split into 17 species. 17, like 1 into 17. To me, it's like that. I think that's the biggest number of single daughter species from a split that has happened in my lifetime, I think.
Yeah, that's craziness.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And I've never seen any of them. I've never been in that part of the world, but I've seen them in the books. That there are some that maybe those who are interested in the New World might think are kind of cool. The thrasher, the white-breasted thrasher, that's on Martinique and St. Lucia. The 2 versions, Martinique thrasher and St. Lucia thrasher, are now separated as endemics, and both of them actually quite endangered. So I think the St. Lucia one more so, but lots going on if you want to get into the other species that are not in the New World or in South America on this list. I think I would say, I don't know, maybe you guys agree, disagree. If you look through all these birds, this is a bold bold decision to split all these things. And it's bold, too, to just not sit and wait for other taxonomic committees. And I think they are also working with multiple other folks in the world to have eBird somewhat standardize with other international checklists that are out there. So very interesting to me.
Yeah, we've come a long way from Mexican duck, right? That was like kind of a big deal at the time, and now we look at this, and this is a big. The Mexican duck was like a single step forward towards a little divergence and from typical North American classification, but this is a bold step, I would say, and probably most birders, at least amateur birders, and even a lot of ornithologists, I imagine as well, would agree that this is a step towards progress of basically recognizing a lot of subspecies or forms that seem changes that just are really overdue and people know are different and that are diagnosable in the field a lot of the time. And so it's great to see this. One you didn't mention, I don't think, Al, was Siberian pipit as well.
Yeah.
Which is a good one for those of us that bird in Western Alaska, but even all along the Pacific coast. I believe there's some California records for that now. Is that as well? Am I right about that?
Well, this is the thing. Like, I don't think that because the state committee does not review subspecies, there have been birds that have been claimed and photographed, but haven't gone through any rigorous process of like figuring out the identification. So, I mean, I think I would say yes, they have been reported and seen by good observers, but
it'll be a fun one to look for in places like California, where you can see hundreds of pipits in a day, and try to sort through these. And I mean, that's the kind of bird that could almost
might not be the
anywhere.
word. But...
Well, if you have a pipit fetish like some of us do, then it could be quite fun.
And it's like the American pipit, but it's more stripy on the back and on the chest, and also tends to have pinker legs. It's the one that's been called Japonicus in the National Geographic Guide and so forth. But there are also call differences that were laid out in that publication that they used to split the two. So that will be interesting to see if maybe the voice will be the way to sort of know you've got one or the other. But even the voice is similar, so kind of cool though that all this is happening. We'll see how well it's accepted, and we'll see how many of these changes the AOS committee actually does, how much matches.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that's July when we hear from them. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's this kind of next 6-month window or so where we'll see how things play out. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the birders' version of when all the award shows are happening for the movies. Like we're getting this is the Golden Globes. It's like it's taxonomy season, and then we get the Oscars coming up. So it's taxonomy season, everybody. Hold on to your hats. Get your armchair, sit in it, and then wait for the lifers to roll into your eBird account.
Those armchair ticks are just going to get rolled out here.
Here's what I suggest to eBird. When the armchair ticks happen, they should have almost like a gambling, like little 3 cherries pop up and ding, 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 because like, you got another lifer. You got another lifer,
They should totally make it a live event where they like the NFL draft or something. They should make it like a live event where you could sit around and join and have a cocktail. I think we should petition for this.
That would be good.
I would love to participate that.
The envelope.
I bet you would, Molly.
I would be terrified to organize that. More power to them.
Yeah.
You can be one of the hosts, and that
I don't know if I'd get that far.
Introduces everybody and hands out the envelopes, and the envelope says herring gull goes into port species. Oh my God! This is not a dumb idea. This is actually, it sounds dumb now. But this is actually a good idea.
Yeah, it could be a good birder bash. We need more birder bashes,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We do. It's as long as it is heavy on the splits. We have to end it. We have to keep people happy if we're doing this.
When they take down the red poles, we'll have to have like a day of mourning. We'll have a day of mourning.
Oh yeah, that is one of the ones in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't even roll down to the lump part because it's just
there's not much there.
Who wants to know the ugly truth of lumps? Those slash categories or hybrids. I saw this and it kind of gave me chills. Now we're going to have Glaucus American herring gull hybrid and Glaucus European herring gull hybrid. How are you going to know it's one or the other? Like,
yikes!
That's like a nightmare. That's just, I don't know. But
yeah.
Anyway, lumps.
Yeah, one thing you were saying earlier, Al, when you were talking about Orlando Garrido, was how he had seen Bachman's warbler. And I saw a Facebook discussion, I think it was Bernie Master had posted a photograph of a specimen of Bachman's warbler and mentioned that he wasn't sure if there was anybody still alive who had seen Bachman's warbler. And I was like, boy, that's an interesting idea that like we might be losing soon the last folks that have actually seen that bird,
And also Eskimo curlew. That's another one that has been seen by people who are still alive.
Yeah.
Who are getting older.
Yeah. Thinking about it, and I was talking to my dad about it, I do remember that Bachman's warbler, and it's even an eBird, there was a bird, I think, that even returned for multiple seasons.
Like 1963 or something?
No, I think the last one ever photographed filmed was maybe in the Ion Swamp down there in about 62 or 63, right around Eskimo curlew. Yeah, exactly right around the same time. But the one I was referring to was there was one that quite a few birders at the time. Now this is the late 1950s, mind you, late 1950s, that set up shop outside, looks like Fairfax, Virginia. And there in eBird, there is a May 7th, 1954 and May 10th, 1958 record. And my recollection is that Paul Sykes, who was a big, he's still living in Georgia, and he's not getting around so much these days, but he was a 900 plus lister in the ABA area and a big birder in Virginia. I remember him telling me that he had seen that one that showed up outside of DC there, Fairfax area. And so I think that there probably are a few other folks around that, in addition to Paul, that would have seen that bird. But yeah, I mean, we're going back a fair piece, and how many birders were there total in 1958?
Mm-hmm.
Different story.
Yeah. I wonder if with those birds that were returned or were there for a period of time, if anybody actually did a cross-country trip to actually see them, if that even was in a mindset that anybody would have had then. I would imagine not.
Yeah, probably not, because just the communication between birders was practically nil probably at that point.
Well, there was a little bit of that for the last Eskimo curlews that were around, right? Or was that just sort of local travel?
It was, I know people within Texas, right?
Yeah.
Traveled, but I do wonder if anybody came. I know the Rowletts and Victor Emmanuel.
Yeah,
they saw that.
62 or 63 also.
Yeah.
Right around in there. I think they might have found. I don't remember if they found it, but they certainly saw it on the Texas coast. I think it was upper coast of Texas someplace, or mid coast, maybe around Corpus Christi. I don't remember exactly. Or was it Galveston? But yeah, and the Academy of Natural Sciences of Philadelphia here, we have the last specimen ever taken, which was shot by a hunter in, I think it was Barbados.
I think so.
That didn't even know what they were shooting, really. And
I've been to that spot where it was shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Bond. I think James Bond prepared the specimen, if I remember correctly.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a neat shorebird spawn. Yeah. We need to finish up here because we could keep talking forever, but I'll put this, we probably talked about, we'll leave this hanging, but what will be a bird that will go extinct in the future that we have seen ourselves? Because we're in this thing as well. Like, what could it be? I'm thinking Hawaiian birds from my perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
But anyway, I'll leave that hanging. Maybe people can give us their stories of either sad stories of extinction or the opposite, stories of birds that thought were going, that they became more common.
It's worth thinking about. It's worth thinking about, if only to celebrate them as we have them around still. So,
right. Yeah. All right, guys. Anything you want to talk about to let people know about that's coming up?
Let's see. Well, I've been preparing tours for next winter and spring. So those are up on both the Hillstar and the Alvarez Adventure sites. Cuba, Colombia, West Virginia. Shortly to be announced will be a Panama trip for next summer. Yep, that's my tour update. And otherwise, I'm continuing my nice little summer break at home.
Nice.
I've
got, Bhutan, we've had a few people sign up. It looks like it's going to be a go. So if you're interested in Bhutan this fall, we're going. And next year, Japan in winter, we have spots left for that February tour. And that is an amazing one with not only the cranes, but also the fish eagles, stellars, like lots of eagles. And great photo opportunities. Amazing.
Spectacle tour.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I guess I mentioned these in our Alaska episode that we just recorded as well. But yeah, got space on my couple India trips coming up in winter. We have the Taj Mahal, Wondrous Wetlands, and Tiger Country coming up that in January, February. People check those out at hillstarnature.com. Also, the Jewels of Gujarat, a safari in Western India. Really a fun trip for a few tough birds to see really elsewhere in the world, and some really cool mammals as well. And then I do have one spot on what I call the ultimate safari, Tanzania, the Endless Plains and the Crater, one of the most amazing trips you can possibly take. We have one spot on that remaining and encourage folks to look at that. So that's my tour update.
All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Look for that Alaska episode and all the other ones we've got set up, waiting to release. We got a nice little stack. And thanks, Molly, for getting all those together for us.
Oh yeah.
We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.
Cheers.